I'm Carrie. I cosplay, crochet, and enjoy history bounding. In this video, I am going to talk about what the volunteer nurses wore as head covering during World War I and make the veil for my World War I St. John Ambulance VAD uniform. Why a head covering? It helped to distinguish between the trained nurses and the volunteer nurses. They did have different head coverings. It keeps your hair neat and tidy and out of the way. It also helped ensure that your hair, if it fell out, wouldn't end up in the soldiers' wounds. It helped keep your hair clean. Germs, blood wouldn't end up in their hair, and the veil was easily washable. They may not have necessarily been able to wash their hair every day. And it did help reinforce that historic tie between nurse and nun. What did they wear? Well, at the beginning of the war, the volunteer nurses wore the little Dora cap. It's a very cute little nurse's cap, something that nurses wore for many decades in the 20th century. But in the fall of 1915, it changed to be a veil. Now, a lot of the trained nurses didn't like this because it was very similar to the veil that they wore. The trained nurse's veil, very nun-like, that it went around basically their hairline and then was open, draped down. The volunteer nurse's veil was tied at the back, so it was more like a bandana. Here's an image from the Canadian War Museum of what I am going to make. The physical description says that it is white cotton veil decorated with Cross of St. John outlined in black. They also include the finished measurements of this veil. So it is 68.3 centimeters by 45.4 centimeters. I then looked at the image that I had and did measurements on my screen to figure out how wide that hem is, because it does look like it's a few inches wide. I came up with 4 or 5 inches depending upon where I took those measurements. I asked my husband to double check my math, and he came up with 5 or 6 inches depending upon where he took measurements. Editing Carrie here. I think my mama brain made a mistake. Actually, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what I did. So the measurements from the Canadian War Museum are in centimeters, of course, but somehow or other my brain decided to flip that around to inches. 5 or 6 centimeters would, of course, perfectly match 2 inches, which is what the other image I have says the hem is. So, I still can't believe that my brain made that mistake. I obviously needed more coffee that day. I went back over my research and found this image on how to wear the veil. The caption says, it's unstarched and hem-stitched all around 2 inches from edge. Placed centrally on the head, the front edge to be worn straight across the forehead, and the 2 corners of the front edge brought straight round the head, fastening at back with plain safety pin over the folds. I am going to use this white cotton sheet to make my veil. For my measurements, I am going to add 12 inches to each dimension. That will give me 6 extra inches on each side. I'm first going to do a small fold for a hem, stitch it down. At the center front, I need to do the embroidery to make the Cross of St. John. Then I can do that larger fold to make sure that I have the correct dimensions of the finished veil. And then I guess after that, it's just experimenting with hairstyles and pinning the veil to my head. Well, not literally to my head, but yeah, pinning the veil on me. Here is my sheet that I'm going to use for my material. It is an old sheet. There are some stains. I don't know if you can see that. And holes. So I will definitely have to be trying to work around those imperfections. Nope, stains in that corner. Holes in that corner. Okay, let's see what we can get out of this one. This might be the corner. Oh, I'm just barely gonna make that. Just barely gonna make that. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is actually cut off the existing hem. I want to make my own hem. I know normally I would just use the hem that's here, but because I am recreating something, I want to have a very specific hem. That out of the way. And the other side is simply a selvage edge, so I will use that. All right, I finally have my material nicely folded. So this is basically the 38, and I need to know where 28 is up this way, and then try to keep it square. Okay, my material is cut out. Now I need to iron this and get it ready for hemming. I made an error in my math calculations. After a closer look at the museum photo, I figured that the underfold part of the hem would have been about an inch total. I decided to cut with only 5 inches extra around the hem, but I forgot that 2 inches of the hem is included in the final measurements. I should have only added 3 inches. So after ironing, I cut the unneeded 2 inches off. It's a little hard to see in the photo from the Canadian War Museum, but it looks like the underfold of the hem has about half an inch visible here. So I made half an inch fold all the way around and then folded it over once more to secure the raw edge, thus preventing fraying. After running that hem through my sewing machine, it was time to embroider the Cross of St. John into the middle front. I measured 2 inches to create the hem, ironed it, folded the veil to find the center, figured out where I wanted the embroidery. I had printed up a Cross of St. John so I could trace it onto the veil. Then I went over it with black thread, once the embroidery was done, I folded each side down 2 inches. It looks like those are hand stitches on the veil in the Canadian War Museum. Sure wish I had unpacked a thimble from the move. My finger is now very sore after all that hand sewing. And it's finished! I actually made something for this outfit. It is a lot smaller than I thought it would be, even though I do have it the same dimensions as the one in the museum and the dimensions that's talked about in that image on how to wear this cap. It's a lot easier to wear than I thought it would be. There's nothing holding it in place except that one safety pin. And I was outside here wandering around in the wind and it did not move at all. It is reminiscent of the caps that doctors and nurses wear now to cover their hair, which is definitely very cool. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed this. Please like, definitely subscribe if you want to see the progress I make on this World War I St. John Ambulance VAD uniform. Until next time, have fun, be creative, and take care. I did embroidery. It worked. It actually worked.